Hey family, Pastor Jonathan along with Alec and Jeremy and Alec. However, but it is Alec and Jeremy Dorchus, and they are going to be our interns this summer. And so I'm personally thrilled that these guys are sacrificing time this summer to come hang out with us, but most of all serve Christ by serving our church family. And so for the next 30 minutes, you're going to get a chance to get to know them better so that when they come on campus at our church, you guys are going to almost know them like your BFFs, best friends forever. So we're thankful for this opportunity for you guys to get to know them and also soon for them to get to know you. And so the first thing I'm going to ask both Jeremy and Alec is just for them to share their testimony, you to get a chance to know how they came to know Christ. So, Jeremy?
Ooh, I get to start it off. Okay, so when I first actually took my faith seriously and when I actually accepted Jesus as my Savior and really wanted to actually follow him was I was about 12 years old. My family, I grew up going to church. I heard the gospel every so often. And so I was aware of it, but I was pretty much like I want to live my own life, as most of us want to. We love to choose our own path, but that's not how it usually goes as a Christian. As I was going into my 6th grade year, I started kind of that middle school phase, and really kind of got into the idea of wanting to be popular, wanting to be liked, and just seeking approval from others, what they think of me. And so I would change a lot of how I did my hair, how I dressed, what I liked even. And then, as my 6th grade year went along, I faced a lot of what we would call bullying. A lot of people would spread rumors around about me in terms of being a homosexual, which I don't know where that even came from, just craziness, or others would be, I'm drawing a blank at it, but anyways, despite it, there was just a lot of stuff going around about me, and I was pretty distraught at it, as most people would be, I eventually got to a point where I planned out my own suicide. I won't even go into the details of what I planned out, and I was about probably a couple weeks out from choosing the date, and I actually decided to listen to church for once, because you attend, but you don't really listen to the message. You're just there because your parents had to drive you. And as I listened to the message, it was actually about God's love, right? A lot of the center point of our lives is God's love, and talking about how we are supposed to be selfless. And what does it look to be selfless as a Christian? And, obviously there's a gospel presentation as well. I looked at a lot of my life and my self-pity, and I was just that's not a defining feature of who a Christian is. A Christian is not supposed to be dwelling on their own afflictions. They actually go in despite of it. And, I decided to finally give my life to Christ because I kind of ruined my own, and I needed someone else to help me live through it. And so, that's a lot of what it is that, God came in at a time of my life in which I almost decided to do something terrible, and drew me out of it right in the nick of time.
All right, Alec, you're up.
My testimony is going to kind of echo here and there with Jeremy's, because obviously we were in the same household. We grew up in the same school, same church. So a lot of it's going to kind of echo with him, but so just going off of his, born in a Christian household. Dad was a youth pastor in California through a series of random events. crazy events. We moved back to Boise, Idaho, where originally our family is from, and that's when things started going on. I was 6 years old, going to public school. It was clear that between me and Jeremy as the twins, Jeremy was viewed as the better twin. What I mean by that is better athletically, academically, and everywhere in between. I was viewed that I was worthless. And is it recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
You're good.
Just the red light. But yeah, that really got to me, because it wasn't just at public school, it was in the church. And I don't need to go into any of that because of honestly what Christ has redeemed me from that. But just to really get a pinpoint focus, I didn't have any friends. I actually hated Jeremy. I hated Jeremy because he symbolized everything that I wanted to be, but I hated it at the same time, which would seem such like a weird concept, but you want something that you truly hate. And I hated it. I hated Jeremy. I hated my family because they would try to help and it really wasn't helping. And honestly, I hated God because there was a long time I believed that God had made me a mistake. But again, like, God has sent such a redeemer in his mercy and in his grace. And this is where it gets funny. I was in 8th grade year, and I was at a Newsboys concert, and Michael Tate, he was talking about taking your faith seriously. And I didn't have it, so I didn't care. I wasn't listening. And I'm messing around with the dude right next to me, and who was like kind of a friend at that time. And apparently Michael Tate said, if you're gonna take your faith seriously, stand up now. And of course, a stadium full of a bunch of Christians. We're all gonna stand and say, yeah, I want to take my faith seriously. I wasn't listening. And my friend stood up. I thought this next song was coming on, and I stand up. And here's the thing. My youth pastor, which I will attribute, probably showed the most biblical love, probably the first biblical love in my life during my middle school years. He saw that I stood up. Again, I wasn't doing this to take my faith seriously. I thought the song was coming on. and he bumps my brother, which you heard his testimony. Like, God was working in his life for a couple of months during this time. And Jerry, he said to Jeremy, you see that? You need to go do something with that. And he was unbearable for the next 8 months. And when I mean unbearable, it was day in and day out presenting Christ's redeeming work and the gospel almost every day for 8 months. And I don't regret it now. I still hated Jeremy at this point, but like, it was just Jeremy showing biblical love towards me. It's like, Alec, why can't you accept that Christ can redeem your life and has already paid the way for it? Mm-hmm. And I remember that. And yeah, so 8th grade year, I finally gave in during as we were going through a series called The Gospel by a rap artist named Propaganda. Great series, really explained the gospel to an 8th grade mind. And that's when I was like, there is actually something behind this. There's actually purpose behind Jesus, and that he's coming back. And that really got me through like my high school years. Also having, honestly, a brother for the first time in my life at that point. So I want to talk more and more about, like, honestly what Christ has done in my life, but that's like my testimony.
All right, so the second question that I want to ask both Alec and Jeremy is why youth ministry? So Alec, tell us why.
I wanted to, so originally when I wanted to go into ministry, I actually wanted to do missions. I wanted to go be a missionary for like a parachurch organization. That kind of got, I kind of got led away, not laid away, that's a weird word, and led away from that dream through, again, series of events. But the reason why my heart is at youth ministry is because that's where my testimony starts. That's where I think it's important to honestly train the next generation, so that generation trains the next generation, that generation trains the next generation. You can see that through reading Acts. You can see that with I believe is in 1st or 2nd Timothy, when Paul is talking about training righteous men and righteous deeds. So there is something to focusing on the youth of today, because two things in my mind. One, the youth needs it. I needed it as an 8th grader. That's when God interceded in my life. And second, they need to spread the gospel to intercede in their lives, so God's love can honestly get to them. I'm not saying that he can, but he will get to them. But we need to train the next generation so that they can train the next generation and reach and fulfill the Great Commission, which is to make disciples of all nations.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate your heart for that. And Jeremy, you're up next.
I mean, for sure, I'm definitely going to be biased. You heard the testimony. I started my real walk when I was 12 years old. So right on the cusp of being a teenager. And so I definitely have a bias. I won't deny that. I started feeling a calling towards younger children because it started when I started volunteering in our children's ministry for the 2nd through 5th graders, and I would just do simple little Bible lessons that were already prepared for me, and I would literally just read off a script, didn't know what I was doing. I really learned that even little children who are 5 years old need to hear who Jesus is, what he has done, and that God sent him. And we have that free gift of salvation that can be readily available, and despite the fact that we're all commanded to teach all tribes, all nations, all meaning also any age. So there is a need for youth ministry. I am biased towards it. I kind of, one of my caveat verses would be, I'm thinking Psalm 78, 8 through 11, where it talks about that we're supposed to be training the next generation to not be like their fathers. And to remember the Lord and who he is and what he has done for, in that context, Israel. But today, as the church, we're supposed to teach what God is doing right now and what he has done for the church.
Both these guys and their heart, I've already had the privilege of getting to know them a few times and spend some good time with them. And not only can you hear it in what they've just said, but you can, as you get to know them, you're going to get to see it. And so that's one thing I'm really excited about for their ministry in the local church at Floral Park over the summer is they're going to show that there is value, immense value to God in the life of a child, in the life of a teenager, in the life of anyone of any age, because God is their creator. And so I hope that you've heard that in both of their reasons behind why youth ministry. I love that they have that heart. I was a youth pastor for 5 years, and so I'm also biased towards youth as well. Yes, so I'm right there with you, Jeremy.
Yes.
But a couple other questions that I want to let them answer so that you can get to know them better. still dealing with ministry over the summer. What are you most looking forward to about interning at Floral Park Baptist Church?
The people. I mean, and that's just a pretty general statement. Like, I mean, one, in a community sense, I actually am very interested in Butte. When I visited during Easter, that was actually pretty exciting just to kind of see the culture. It was very interesting, very cool, and actually really excited me. And then even in more of a church, local church type of thing, is I met some of the worship team and the people who helped with the liturgy and the text, or the tech, sorry. Just being able to meet them, honestly, like I was so amazed to see Christians who were so faithful and trying to like be able to preach to you guys during a pandemic when they could be doing a million other things, like stay home and be safer, right? That was just that was so cool. And then I got to meet some of the kids. I'm thinking of Daniel, Ben, right? Ben, Jessica, and what is her name? She's the tiny one, Bria.
You're close, Bree. They call her Bree sometimes, but Brianna is her name.
Brianna.
Yeah. Look at that.
I'm going to get those names down.
You know these guys are legit because they remembered names.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yes. Almost there, but yeah. So that's what I'm excited for is people.
Yeah. Praise the Lord. Well, thank you, buddy. Alec, what are you looking most forward to?
What I am looking most forward to, it is gonna, all honesty, be, of course, have opportunities to serve a church that I am seeing has a lot of faithful people in, and I want to come in and help in whatever way I can and come alongside you and not take over things, but come alongside you. But honestly, just see I'm gonna split this up into two parts. I'm gonna call this the business side. So like come alongside, learning new things and understanding how ministry works in a church, in your guys' church. But also on this side, the Alec fun side, I am all honestly excited to do. I'm excited to do youth ministry and also serve in a church. I like being with people in a church because I don't have an external family that really likes me back home, and so my extended family was the church back in Boise. So I just want to see if I can become part of your family. That's what I'm really excited about.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it, and it's coming up soon. We're looking at maybe May 17th for the start date where they'll be with us, and I'm excited just to see what God's going to do. None of us, not Jeremy, not Alec, not myself, or any one of you watching, knows exactly how the summer's going to go. But we know who holds it. We know who has provided it for us and provided the opportunity for us as a church family to serve these two guys and for them to serve us. It's a win-win. Yeah. So this is more of a personal question because I want them to get to know a little bit about where your love for Christ is right now. So with that, what has Christ taught you recently?
I got you. This is the question I'm actually the most excited to answer. I have been really contemplating, what's the age-old question, and whenever you try to defend who God is, many people would say, well, if you have such a good God, a loving God, why does he allow evil? And it's a really complicated question. I mean, scholars still debate what's truly the right answer. And for me to do justice in a 30-second answer is not going to happen.
Good luck with that.
I've been really contemplating evil. Won't kind of get into the circumstances, but just the past 8 months has been pretty rough in some areas, and in the past month I've really been contemplating that even though we have evil, God allows evil in order to show how good, how perfect, how loving he truly is. There's such a contrast between the sin of others and the sin of the world and what the devil tries to do to us on a constant basis. But then the fact that God is so much more powerful, so much more loving, so much more than everything in this world. It's actually been such an encouragement to look like, yes, I am broken. I am actually nothing before him. But that's the point, is he is everything for us.
That'll preach. So who knows, maybe that'll be a sermon that he preaches one day, or a youth ministry lesson.
Maybe.
Fabulous.
Maybe.
Fabulous. Yeah. So, Alec, what has Christ been teaching you recently?
Sorry, my brother's messing with me.
You can tell they're brothers. They have to mess with each other.
So,
Tore hair.
broken nail.
Okay.
Anyways, what God has been really teaching me these last couple of months is, the question is, am I really satisfied in who Christ is and the gospel that God has given us? Because to understand kind of the gospel, you have to go back all the way to Genesis 1:26. Like, we were created in God's image. And then you have Genesis chapter 3. We fell short of that image. We gave up the image of God. We gave that up willingly. And then there's Genesis 3:15, the first prophetic the first prophetic sign for a Messiah, seed of the woman, he will crush your head and you will bruise his heel. I'm messing that up, but okay. I apologize. And just going through that and going back to my favorite book of the Bible, Galatians. I know inside joke. But Christ really does satisfy. Just reading through Scripture, like from Genesis to Revelation, I'm just really seeing how God has honestly has satisfied people where they were at. I'm thinking of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, those patriarchs. They messed up, but they eventually found that God is better. And then going all the way, like thousands of years later, thinking to John chapter 4 about the Samaritan woman and being satisfied, and she was satisfied in Christ by he didn't even have to show her a sign. He's like, drink of the living water that I'm giving you, and that's what made her believe. But the Jews were rejecting it. So it's like, if she can find satisfaction in who Christ is, I can find satisfaction in who Christ is, and find satisfaction in the gospel that I'm supposed to be spreading around to people. So that's what has been on my heart lately.
Thank you, guys. Family, I just want to encourage you as we get closer to their start date for the summer. Pray Psalm 42, verse 1, which says, "As the deer pants for the water brook, so my soul thirsts for you, O God." And so pray that in the sense of pray that Jeremy and Alec, pray for me, pray for any of our teachers at Floral Park Baptist Church, that we would constantly be as the deer who pants for the water brook, that we would go to God expecting him to just fill us and to quench our thirst, so that we keep coming back to the one who will provide us that fulfillment, who will provide us that quench of our thirst, where we know we are truly satisfied in his goodness, in who he is. And so the last question before we're going to do a rapid fire question section, which is going to be really fun, because they do not know what's coming.
We don't.
The questions I have asked, and this one I'm going to ask, they knew about as of this morning. So they had some preparation time. So I love the unknown. It's fun for me. We're going to see how much they like it. So before we get to the rapid fire, here's the last question. Tell the church family and our church friends one thing fun that you like to do. One fun thing that you like to do.
You go first.
You want me to go first?
I've told you, so yeah.
Oh, well.
A comes before J, so technically you have to go first.
Whoa. There's a silent B there. Wait, that doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
Anyways, my favorite thing to do during my pastime, it's gonna sound really, really weird. I love looking up sci-fi explanatory videos because I'm a sci-fi enthusiast, not a nerd. Sci-fi enthusiast is the step up.
Nerd.
It's the step up. Oh, are you okay?
It was a pandemic cough, I guess.
Oh, don't hurt yourself over there. Pastime, like if I wanted to be indoors or I can't be outdoors or anything, I like to look at those videos, analyze them, and talk about it. If you're a nerd, come to me. Now, however, like outside, I like to mess around. What I mean by that, if we're playing a game, I'm probably not going to take it seriously. I'm just gonna mess around with people. So that is absolutely my favorite pastimes, depending on whether I'm inside or outside.
To put it mildly, he likes to have a good time. It's just the way that it is. Mildly.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, what is one fun thing that you like to do?
Oof. We're gonna choose volleyball. Yeah, I love to crush a ball. I love to. No, you have no idea. Yeah, like volleyball is a sport I took up after high school, just to kind of replace some of the sports I decided not to do anymore. Yeah, it was a really good therapy for me. It was a way that I challenged It's still a way that I challenge myself constantly. And yeah, I just love being on the court, love playing competitively. I'm the opposite of Alec. If he doesn't take something seriously, I take something super seriously. I'm extremely competitive. So, yeah. So be scared if you play volleyball with me, please.
So, youth, we're probably going to have some volleyball games going on in the front yard of the parsonage. So be prepared for that.
Yes.
Because I do like a good game of volleyball as well.
Oh, yeah.
And Alec will play and be our guy who keeps it fun for us, right?
Yeah. Or
Sure.
Gosh, no.
So now, without further ado, rapid fire question time with our interns, Jeremy and Alex. So, Jeremy, I'm going to start you off first. And again, these are one-word answers. Every single one of these.
Sure.
Okay. And one of them has already been answered by Alec. But he's still going to have to answer it again.
Okay.
So, he didn't know it, but he already answered it. All right, so here we go. Rapid fire. I'm going to ask you 5 questions.
Okay.
Batman or Spider-Man?
Batman. Stop. It's my time to shine.
That's right. Bacon or sausage?
Sausage. I'm fine.
We may have to rearrange this internship here. Bacon or sausage? You said sausage. All right. Favorite movie?
I was about to say Pride and Prejudice, but it's definitely not that. It's gonna be his. Oh goodness, no. Spaceballs.
Okay. All right. Beard or no beard?
No beard.
He almost struck out here. All right. Last one. Favorite book of the Bible?
Colossians.
There we go. All right. So now we turn the attention to Alec for his rapid fire questions. Batman or Spider-Man? Batman. Good answer. Bacon or sausage?
Bacon.
Good answer. Favorite movie?
Pride and Prejudice.
Okay. I'd like to explain that to me later on, but it is
Whoa. Let me explain this now.
He's going to explain it now.
I love love stories. I don't know why. I like watching love drama stories, especially with a bunch of idiot British people getting together. It's funny and enjoyable at the same time.
It's not. Anyway.
Mr. Darcy.
For the record, Pride and Prejudice is considered a classic movie among many movie buffs. So,
it's a great movie.
You chose a classic. We'll give you that. Beard or no beard?
Oh, definitely beard.
Okay. Favorite book of the Bible?
Galatians.
There we go. I want to explain this Galatians-Colossians thing. When I was interviewing them for the internship, they turned the table on me when they said, Galatians or Colossians, which one do you prefer? Mm-hmm. Which is a hard question for any preacher, because how can you prefer one book of the Bible over the other 65 inspired just like that other one? So it was a trick question, but you just heard Colossians and Galatians. So that's their 2 favorite books of the Bible.
We're going to cause a church split with this question. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. They're probably going to ask you, do you prefer Galatians or Colossians? So go ahead and study up. This is the end of our time together for today. And I hope you got a chance to enjoy getting to know Jeremy and Alec both. I look forward to our family welcoming them into our family at the church and serving alongside of them. God has got some wonderful things planned for us as a church family and for Jeremy and Alec. And so I can't wait for it to start. And we will see you guys later. Grace and peace to all of you. See ya.